Well, let's get to it, man. So we met through Boardroom, a coaching program that we're both a member of, and you're extremely successful SaaS founder. I know that are you okay with sharing numbers here?
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
All right, cool. So last we spoke, you were at about 10 million ARR on your SaaS company, which is phenomenal. I'm assuming you're still around that number, or maybe you're twice that now. I don't know.
It was more. I think maybe when we spoke it was around 14. We're now a little over
Oh,
15. Yeah, yeah.
oh, got it. Okay, so I got my numbers wrong. There you go. It's incredible, man. I'm super stoked for your success. So, what I wanted to talk to you about is the personal growth side of entrepreneurship, right? Someone as successful as you, what is your approach to working on yourself rather than like in or on the business?
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. And I think we've had success at DearDoc so far. I think we're still at the infancy stage of what we're trying to build here. So success is still, I think, far, far from where we are. And what do I
Can I
do on my,
stop? Can I double click on that? That's really interesting that you say that, right? You're
yeah.
like, what does that mean? What does success mean to you? What makes you say that?
So success, well, I guess better yet is like, um, you need to define what success is, because if you just think you have to make a definition. So I have a definition of where I want the company to be in 3 to 5 years, right? And so
Right.
that for me, that's hitting where we want to, but then that's life, right? So I think this is an interesting thing where you always be getting after the next thing, or else if you just kind of stay stagnant, you're not going after anything. It's sometimes, at least this, and this is a personal belief. I know we're getting into this in this conversation, but if you're not striving for something, I am my happiest when I'm striving for something that I've not
Right.
yet achieved yet, right? I'm
Exactly.
grateful for the things I have right now, and have a lot of gratitude for the things I have, but then also love a purpose to go after. And so that is where DearDoc is today, is nowhere near where we want it to be in 3 to 5 years, and where we've written down and everything else where we want it to be.
Right. And that's exactly the point, right? Because what happens in 3 to 5 years when you hit that place that you want it to be in 3 to 5 years is like you're going to rest for exactly 14 seconds and then
And
you're
then
going to set a new goal, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
so when
yeah.
you operate that way, what you end up is being always not successful, right? You will never be successful for more than 14 seconds at a time every 5 years, right?
Yes, true. Very true. I guess I am successful. I am happy with, like, when I get to do the work I love and do it with people I love, and be part, have an incredible family life with my wife, and everything else, right? And my health is in a good place. My rest of my family is healthy and good. Like, that is a great definition of being successful, and those things are right
Exactly.
here. You know.
Right. Success is a feeling that you have in the moment. It's not a destination.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's super, super, super helpful to always remember that, yeah, there really is no destination, right? Because as soon as we hit whatever destination it is we've set for ourselves, we're going to come up with a new destination. And that's what's great. That's what life is about. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it, man. And so I think the original question was like, what do I do to work on myself outside of just the business? I feel like that is, um, every time I think about, I mean, I just do a bunch of stuff. I really believe in the quote of like, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. And so like, if you're going
Hmm.
through stuff that's like tough, like you just have to like work on yourself more than you actually do work on your business if you want to be successful. So like, you have to show up as
Yeah.
a leader, or show up as a better, like, come up with, think about different things, different ideas of how to solve things. And you have to constantly be improving as a person. So like, I am avid learner. I love learning. I love absorbing different things. This is why I love Boardroom, and why, what we're part of. And a big plug for Dan Martell, which is like, Boardroom is like an incredible place where like I can type into a Facebook group. There's 25 high level entrepreneurs in that group, and then we can get to solve each other's kind of things that we're going through. And I love learning that way from other people. I love learning from books. I audiobook everything. So like I am, I audio, like everything that I'm doing that is that includes me like by myself. Like if I'm cleaning dishes after dinner, like I am reading. If I am commuting back to my house on a bicycle, like I am reading. And so I'm always trying to like learn as much as I can. And I do that a lot. I have been doing that a lot,
So
especially the past 4 years, 5 years.
I love that. So let me double click on a couple of things there. So you said like when don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. What are the some of the situations that you've been through recently where you felt like you struggled and where you felt that need to be better?
Um, I mean, I make mistakes all the time, and I think about like if we don't hit like a sales goal for the company that we were projected to hit or whatever, or um, I'm trying to give you a specific example, because it happens all the time. I mean, just like recently, like how we had recently handled. I don't want to get too specific, but we had people on the team that like weren't doing things the right way, and they were kind of bending the rules on certain things, and they weren't listening to their manager, and there were some things that had to go on there. And as you always know, like when you have criticism to give to somebody, you should do it in private, not in public. And I made the criticism in a group of like multiple people and stakeholders and those types of things. And this is something that I had already known myself like not to do, but I just kind of did it, even though like my gut was telling me not to, and I did it for 3 or 4 or 5 people, criticized them in public. And I don't know, like I constantly like even if I've learned something and know something, like I have to relearn it constantly. And this is why
Hmm.
like you reading books, there's certain books I reread every year because they just have certain
Hmm.
staples in them that like if I can continue to do these things, I know I'll be successful. So I don't know that happened like yesterday or 2 days ago, and that hit me where I was like they definitely felt like it wasn't productive. The things that we wanted to get done didn't get done, and it just wasn't the right thing to do. So like I'm just constantly trying to like everything is a learning experience, or you're successful, right? And you pick one or the other. Either you had success, which is great, and try to learn from the success if you can. Unfortunately, most people
Hmm.
learn more from their failures, which is me included. Take those failures and learn from them, and then get better from them after.
Yeah. It seems to me that that's where we learn the most is when we fail at things, like just how that works, right? Um, yeah. Yeah, I'm curious because like for me, there's a part where like being an entrepreneur is just inherently hard because there's so much going on, there's so many moving parts to any organization, so much responsibility. At the end of the day, we're responsible for the livelihoods of all the team members, but also I forget what exactly your product does, but for us, it's the source of income for our members, our customers. And so, like, responsibility for their livelihood as well. So it's a lot to take on. And there's certain things you obviously we have teams and you can get help, but there's certain things that you just can't, like, nobody else can take from you, right? It's on your shoulders at the end of the day. So on the one hand, I find that entrepreneurship is just inherently hard. And then there's another part where it's like, I don't know, it's like maybe it's that Zen like place of like, well, it is what it is. And you're just like every day you show up and it's like it's only really gets stressful when you get into your mind and start projecting into the future and thinking about what could happen and all of that stuff. If you can just stay in the moment, it's like you're just there. Like, what's your experience?
Well, what is stress? What is it? Right? Like,
I mean, to me, it's an emotional, a physical, physiological, and emotional reaction to a mental a belief that you have, a story that you're telling yourself, right? It's always about fear. It's always something that you're afraid of.
yeah, like stress to me is I can be very stressed out and then remember that like this is like not an external thing. Like
Hmm.
this is my like this is just a mindset that I'm in right now, right? And if I decide
Hmm.
it's what you focus on, you attract. And so if I keep focusing on the things that I can't control that stress me out, that are not benefiting me, then it it starts getting bigger and bigger and bigger, right? And the problem gets
Hmm.
bigger and bigger and bigger in our own heads. And so I just try to do my best, which is not easy to do, but to readjust where I'm thinking. And if I'm really stressed out about something, I'm like, well, hold on a second. Like, and if I will try to change the way, my direction of what I'm thinking about, but I'll also
Hmm.
then start taking massive action to try to like take at least a step closer to trying to overcome it or solve it. And that usually helps me feel a little bit better. Making a phone call, just doing even a little bit of research, just taking even the smallest like little action towards, fixing that stressful situation, I think is helpful. Um, but yeah, it's once you understand like how powerful the mind is and what the mind is capable of doing on the good and the bad, and especially the bad, which I think is what happens is that if you have this supercomputer but no one ever teaches you how to use it, then you just you can get lucky and it does things the right way, but you can also not do things and it doesn't work for you in your favor, and
Right. Exactly.
that's
Yeah.
powerful.
So you almost said something or you said something that almost sounds like a, law of attraction kind of thing of like what you focus on, you tend to get more of. Like, what is your take on that? Because I feel like I swim in sort of more spiritual waters where people are totally on board with that, and then I swim in more techie waters where people are like, well, that's like garbage. I don't know what
Law of
that is. Like,
attraction, dude, gnarly. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I've I did it. So every Monday I do a Monday mindset video for the team, and this is what I recommend if entrepreneurs that like you don't get to interact with your team that often, especially if you're remote, like all those things. I do a video every Monday, and I just video myself and me talking about one of my how I philosophy I think about life. So like their people on the team can know more about how their like founder thinks and what they think about and how they just think about life. And and that was today. This Monday, so a few days ago was this idea, and I put in the video. I was like, listen, I know this may seem some law of attraction esque weird stuff, but like this is like my experience. This stuff actually is true and it works. And if you had told me this 10 years ago, I'd say you're crazy. That you can just think and things can get better, but um, like so I kept hearing over and over again people like really successful people that I looked up to kept referring back to like one book in particular, and it was called Think and Grow Rich. Like almost every successful person I had spoken to had like this book, this book, this book. So I was like, what is this book about? And so that's when I read the book when I was 24 years old, and it's like write down where you want to be in a certain time frame, and I started doing all this stuff, and
Right.
I didn't
I
really get it.
remember hearing about that book years ago and just thinking, what garbage. Like, and I
Yeah.
read it and I was captivated. Yeah, it's a great book.
Napoleon Hill. So I read the book for the first time, and I didn't understand it. It was like this 24, I didn't really get it, and then I reread it again at like 25, and I was like starting to get a little bit more. I was like creative imagination, synthetic imagination. I just didn't fully get it. By 26, I read his first book, Napoleon Hill, called Law of Success, and then I decided, you know what? Like I've heard too many people say this book is good, or like this guy's philosophies are good. I'm going to treat this thing as my Bible. And they just like took that, which you probably shouldn't do, like take one author's opinion and just like think all of it is true. But I did this when I was about 26.
Hmm.
So this was 4 years ago for me, about 4 years ago. And it was worked really well for me. And so like I actually, a lot of the things in the book that they talk about, like here's like this self-confidence formula or a leadership and initiative formula, the things that are in the book, like it says recite these things every day. I've been doing those every day for the past 4 years. Like I
Wow, that's so cool. And that's Laws of Success
Law of Success,
specifically.
his first book, yeah, and I think it's significantly better
Yeah,
than Think and Grow Rich, like way better. Yeah,
got it. I gotta revisit that one. I think I read it, but I couldn't be sure, and it's been years if I did. Yeah.
but what happens is we read a book and then we're like, oh, that was cool. Like, and you take one idea, and then you read the next book, you take one idea, and then like I was like, for this one, I was like, I'm just gonna do all of it. I'm just gonna treat it as if like it's 100% real, 100% true, but I have no like. I'm not second guessing it. I'm just gonna say this is right, this is true, this is the path to success. Too many people have said they've used his work and gotten there, and
Right.
worked for me.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
I'm gonna write that down for myself right now. I'm gonna revisit that book.
it's a great one.
Um, it's fun. It reminds me of one of my favorite books is Wallace D. Waddles. The Science of Getting Rich.
Oh
Are you
yes,
familiar with that one?
yeah. It's same time period. Like they came out in the 1930s.
Right.
Like
Isn't that, I mean, and that's a good point. Isn't that fucking crazy that 100 years ago there were all these authors like Neville Goddard and like there's a bunch of them like Robert Collier. That was also the birth of the direct response marketing and the sales letters and all that stuff, right? That a
yeah,
hundred years ago, humans had figured this shit out. Like, how does the human brain work, and how do you create success, meaning good feelings, and you actually like achieving what you set out to. And then here we are 100 years later, and it's not like taught in every school, in every kindergarten, in every family. Like, it's crazy, right? Like, it's wild. Uh, yeah.
I mean, how do you do a standardized test around it? I mean, you guess you could, right? Like I guess it's possible, but the problem is that
But you
schools
don't
teach.
need to test stuff to teach it, right? Like you can teach a lot of things. You don't need to have a test on it, but just as a way to help people succeed. It's like it's crazy to me, just like we're as a society, human beings have been around for what, like a few years by now, right? Like we all need to eat. There's 8 billion of us or something. We all need to eat every day. And yet we haven't, no country has decided, let's really figure out what is the optimal nourishment for people. Like, and maybe it's different for different people, but what are the parameters and how do we actually feed this body of ours to be, in an ideal state, weight, health, muscle building or whatever, right? Feeling, performance. And similar, like how do we feed the mind most effectively? This is not rocket science. We could figure this out if we wanted to, but it seems like as a society, it's not something that we really care to do.
Yeah, yeah, and but since then, like I remember telling to some guy who wrote a book about this recently, or just, I don't know, I was talking to somebody and I was like, yeah, I was like, I really like this, Napoleon Hill's work and Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People and all this stuff that came out in the 30s and even the 20s, and but now there's like so much more like research done on, like they were kind of doing it based on like how they felt and what they observed, and now there's like actual tons of studies and things that prove that like what they were saying was actually true, right? But they kind of
Mm-hmm.
were considered a little bit crazy back then. Like Napoleon Hill was not that big while he was alive. He became way more successful after he died, and and so like those types of things, like, um, yeah, just there's a lot of studies on it, but it was true back then, but it just was a lot of theory, and I'm not even looking at the hard data, and I'm still like, I'm just testing. I'm the judge and the jury. Like I'm just taking this, implementing in my real life to see if it's any good, and then if I see things working in my favor, I just keep applying them, and
Mm-hmm.
that was my journey with it. I didn't need to know like the specific studies. I just said, I'll try it. It worked, and I kept using the same stuff.
Totally, right? Does it work for you? That's what matters. And in the same way, I'm fascinated with, you know, when the approach to medicine of like the Western medicine was the microscopes and chemistry and like all of that stuff versus something like traditional Chinese medicine, which is 5,000 years old, I believe, or India's Ayurveda, which and like I think there's a lot that like Chinese medicine has figured out, the Western medicine hasn't figured out yet, and like how we're like where does that stuff come from, right? Like inherited, like intuition, like is there some source of knowledge within us? I believe yes, right? There is a source of knowledge within us that we've been trained out of tapping into in the Western world and only trust, the instruments, the like the science, like the quote unquote scientific tools, right?
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree, and like I think that there's a lot of reasons why, and I think as we look at like even like the way that we've grown our food recently, like I'm learning a lot about like even also foods and what foods to eat, not to eat, and I am the diet I've been subscribed to is called the Pegan diet. It's by this guy named Mark Hyman. It's like an in between paleo and vegan. So I do eat meats, but I eat a lot of vegetables. And it's not necessarily like he talks about, a lot of people talk about how red meat is not good for you and all this other stuff. And his synopsis of this whole thing is like, it's not the cow, it's the how, right? It's not like how, it's not the cow itself that may be bad for you. And there may be tons of people that disagree with me on this, and that's fine. But it's how the cow was raised. And so like if you have a cow that's like actually fed with the right things, like grass-fed meat, it's organic, those type of things are actually really good. Then there's a lot of like nutrients you can get out of meat. Now you shouldn't eat too much of it, but there's a lot of great nutrients you can get from it. And so like even chicken, how we've conventionally grown chicken, like chicken had changed the way we've grown chickens from like 1980. If you had chicken before the year 1980, it was what we now call pasture-raised chicken, which is already rare to find in grocery stores, but that's how all chicken was actually made up until 1980 when they started making conventional raised chicken that are fed all this stuff that's not great for you, right? That's not great for the chickens, and also they're raised in not the proper ways. They're not roaming around. All the stuff that's important for the chickens to actually doing, and then you consume that in your body, and you feel some, that's why sometimes people feel like they'll eat a big meal, they'll eat something, they'll feel really tired. If you eat the right foods, like you don't usually actually feel that tired after. You actually feel energized, and so
Yeah.
yeah, that's the stuff that I'm sure like we were just because we've created all this like industrial foods, things like that, like exists now, but didn't exist hundreds of years ago, or even, man, like 50, 30, 40 years ago, that now exists today. It's just interesting. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I was reading that the story of how the modern American chicken came to be. There's like some contest, I forget what it's called, so it's basically like feed them so that they grow really, really big, really, really fast, and then we kill them like way earlier than we normally would, and to eat. And it's like they're completely flavorless, and they used to be actually, you know, flavorful and good and healthy and stuff. And yeah, like across the board, just not good ingredients, not good produce.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
So tell me, yeah. So I was thinking, like, what was the reason I brought up the Signs of Getting Rich is he mentions in that book specifically, like, don't read any other books on the topic. Just read this one and follow this one, and like, don't dabble. So I like that. I like that principle, right? Whichever version you pick, and I love that you're so dogged about it, and it's like, screw it, I'm just gonna go implement this damn thing, and it's worked pretty darn well for you. Like you're not just have a very doing very well financially with your business and it's growing. It's also, I know that you have a beautiful relationship and you're obviously healthy and happy and all those things, right? So it's like it's a full 360. I'm in awe. I'm amazed.
Yeah, I think that's the challenge I think we all face is like we'll read something or go to a conference or listen to something and then be like, that was awesome, that was cool, I feel motivated for like a period of time, or like you implement one little thing. And I just think it's hard because again, like I said, I don't know if it is the right advice to like just trust another human full, like I put my full faith into Napoleon Hill and his work, and it wasn't just that, but I just everything. I was like, I will live my life exactly to this for a period of time, right? And I'll be the judge to see if this is actually true or not. Because like by saying like, oh, that wouldn't work, or that part of that would work, or part of it wouldn't, I didn't want to give that until I fully went all in. And that's why I was like, all right, cool. He's telling me that I have to recite this thing. This is why I do daily affirmations every morning now. And part of them are those things that are in Think and Grow Rich or Law of Success. That like the self-confidence formula, the leadership formulas, all those formulas, I recite them every morning. I have for 4 years.
Mm.
And think about this, the timing of it. So I started that really in beginning of 2018. I started DearDoc in the beginning of 2019. And so you got to think that things probably had some level of influence to like get me to start this and then eventually grow it to where it is. It would be weird to say like that had zero influence on some of those things.
100%. Yeah. So how long did you give it before you were like, yeah, this shit's working?
How long? Um, it wasn't long. You know what's crazy? I've actually never told this story before. I was working at a company I was working at the last company I was at. It's called Simplify, and I was the sales trainer there. And I was head of sales, but I was about to do sales training that Monday, and it was like my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, lived on the Upper East Side. I needed to print out some training binders for the sales hires that were going to start the next day on Monday. It was like a Sunday night. Like things were closed. It was almost like empty in Upper East Side. And it was like late 2017 or something like that. And I was printing out these books at this like I think Staples had just closed, but they were still letting me print out these binders next to our apartment. And there's another guy next to me, and he had a bunch of like, this is like from a fucking movie. It was like he had a bunch of like, I don't know if they were books or books on CDs. I don't remember, but some of them were like The Science of Getting Rich, like the Law of Success, like all these different like really personal development CDs. And I remember one of them I think was Think and Grow Rich or something like that. And I was like, oh hey, like I just we were both there. It was empty, no one was there, and I was like, oh, like I read that book, Think and Grow Rich, and that was really good. He goes, yeah. Do you know who Kevin Trudeau is? Kevin Trudeau. I was like, who's Kevin Trudeau? He's like some guy that was an infomercial guy that made millions and millions of dollars, but he was like selling like some stuff. And he talks about how there was a version that Napoleon Hill wrote of this book before Think and Grow Rich called Law of Success that he had to actually take off the shelves because it was all about the secrets that Henry Ford, Andrew Carnegie, and all these really successful people at the time had used to become successful. And it was too powerful a book, so they published it in 1925. They had to take it, Henry Ford forced him to take it off the shelves because it was like too powerful of a book that he thought it would make too many people move up. And eventually in 1928 they came out, this is when it's actually published, Law of Success 1928, a less filled version of what the actual 1925 version was because of what Henry Ford wanted to keep out. And it's a weird story to think about, but this is what this guy's telling me, and he's got this older guy with a beard and all this stuff. And I was like, okay, cool. And he's like, yeah, I got to go buy it. And ever since I saw it, I was like, Law of Success. Like, I wonder what the secret is. I kept looking, like, where's the 1925 version of Law of Success? And I like came across it, which like, I don't think it's actually very much different. I think it's just kind of a story. But nonetheless, like at the time when I got it, I was 25. I was like, oh, I have the secret to 1925 version that what's his name didn't want on the shelves. And I don't know, it was interesting. And that was kind of like, you can think about a movie where like you get introduced to something, like a random person, the character, and something that was kind of this old dude with a beard.
Here's your Gandalf.
Yeah. And he's like, read this thing, Law of Success. It's like if you think these are good, like try Law of Success. And that was kind of, I guess, what maybe got me really influenced to like do it. And then how do I know it's working? Like immediately after, like just implementing that stuff, like I had already felt, like I already knew some of those things were holding me back, like how I thought about myself and different thoughts I would hold like true to myself. And if I just had belief in myself, no one else is going to believe in myself more than I was. If I had the belief in myself that I could achieve something and do something, then there's a chance I could probably at least increase my likeliness of getting it done. And so I started going for things I wouldn't normally go for, doing things I wouldn't normally do, and then over time that added up. But there was tons of things in the book that just like were great. So I would say within a month or so, I'd say it was like crack. It was like I would read the book, the next day implement something like it, and then just like positive feedback. And then I had read that book in 2018. I probably read that book like, I know we're talking a lot about this one book, but I probably read that book like 7 times that one year.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what is your process like? What are the things you mentioned? Your morning. What was it? Confidence and leadership rituals. Yeah, affirmations. Like, what does your process look like?
I wake up at 5:15, meditate for 10 minutes using Headspace. I've used Headspace every day for I think 1,600 days in a row or something like that because it keeps track of like the days in a row you've done it. I've never missed a day for like 1,600 days or something. So I meditate for 10 minutes. I write in my journal. I journal out. This is something I've learned from Sean Anker, who does, there's a TED Talk he does called The Happiness Advantage. We actually give it to all of our new hires we show it to all of our new hires that started DearDoc, which is how to be happier. And one of the ways to become happier is to journal about all like the positive experiences you had like the prior day. So I just write down all the amazing things that happened the day before. And then I use an app called Day One, so I can put it all. I don't need I actually do it on my phone. Day One, I can add photos that I took that day into the journal. So there's just like stacks of journals every day of pictures and things I've talked about. And then I look at my goals. So I look at my different objectives, different goals I have for 5 years, 6 months, different time frames. And then I do my daily affirmations. And the daily affirmations are like a bunch of different things, whether those are things I took from Think and Grow Rich or Law of Success, or just like different things I've learned in other books that just like really hit home for me. And I'll just put those in there. So I relook at them every day and read them out loud every day.
Got it. How long is that? Go ahead.
Takes about an hour. It takes about an hour to do everything.
Yeah. Okay.
So
and then you what?
Then I'll go straight to the gym. Then I'll go to the gym. I work out 6 days a week. lift weights 5, and then cardio 1.
Got
And
it.
cardio is like I run 5 miles every Friday. That's my cardio.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's very regimented, huh?
Yes, it is. It is. I don't know. Yeah. It may be weird. Yeah, I love it.
That's
I love
cool.
it.
So what time do you hit the gym?
I try to get there like I'd love like probably anywhere between 6:30 and 7 is when I usually get there.
Hmm. In an hour, and then shower, and then work, or
Yeah.
breakfast with the wife or family, or.
Yeah, so no, I mean, wife and I have different schedules. She sleeps in late, so like we're like
Hmm.
opposite in that. She'll stay up later, I go to bed early.
Hmm.
So I eat the same thing.
Same with my wife. We're like, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm in bed earlier, up earlier. Yeah.
yeah. I eat the same thing for breakfast every single day. So I use if you're familiar with, I don't know if you're familiar with Jim Quick. You know who Jim Quick is? He's like a brain coach for a lot of really successful people, and he like talks about different like brain foods that he like uses to like optimize his brain. Um, and so I just make a smoothie every morning with like pretty much all the brain foods that Jim Quick talks about. So it's like avocado, blueberries, broccoli, spinach, coconut oil, everything in one smoothie, and I have that same thing pretty much every morning.
Got it. All right. Did you try Body Meal?
Did I what?
Did you try Body Meal? Did I give you some Body Meal?
What is it?
Body Meal.
Body meal. No, I didn't try it.
Yeah. No. Oh shoot. Remind me tonight. I'll give you some.
I'd love it.
Um. Yeah. This is my breakfast and snack and whatnot. Body Meal.
What's in it?
Uh, Proteins, plant-based proteins, green superfoods, vitamins and minerals.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to try some. I'd love to try
Yeah.
some.
All right. It's here for you later tonight.
I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm excited to be there tonight. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, me too, man. I'm excited to have you. Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's all about my morning routine. It's very regimented,
Yeah.
but the rest of my day is not. Like the rest of my day is like just fucking shit happens, shit comes up, whatever. Like that part of my
Right.
life is just very the same.
And what is your philosophy on life? Like what's the point of it all?
The point of life.
Hmm. And all
Uh,
the work, all the hard work, all the the hours that you put in the gym and at work and all that stuff. Like where does it all lead?
you just you have I feel like we all have visions of ourselves, like how we want to be, like when we're like when you're 5 or 6 years old and your imagination, or you're 10 years old, your imagination goes skyrocket, right, of like where you
Hmm.
want yourself to be. And then I feel like at some point 24 years old comes by, 25, whatever, at some point in our lives we just kind of like forfeit that vision of what we wanted for ourselves. And I think right now I'm actually going for and living the vision I'd always wanted for myself, which I don't think I did previously. And and so I think that's a part of it. I think that I get one life.
That's a powerful idea though. Like that because I think you're right, right? Most people just like they have dreams and visions and ambitions and just like as a boy, you can't not be like, oh my God, this like you're just excited about life and all the possibilities and all that stuff. Like, look, Lego Tower, whatever. And then it kind of gets socialized out of us, right? Like we get knocked down, we try stuff and it didn't quite work out, and then others are like, yeah, but maybe like you can't make money as an artist or like whatever it is they say, or like yeah, you're maybe not made for entrepreneurship or like whatever, like um and then we just kind of like yeah, go to a place of like yeah, whatever, it's probably fine, it won't be better, and like we kind of get that drive and ambition sucked out of us. It's sad.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's like because most people are not like I don't know. There's most people aren't really doing it, and they don't want to see you go after your dreams if they're not doing it also, right? And so like
100%.
there's part of that that goes into it. But
And that's
yeah,
huge. I think there's also a part where like when you have big dreams or big visions or ambitions, there's a pain associated with that when you're not there, and when the things that you try to do to get you there don't work. right? And so there's a skill of, and then you can try to numb that pain out by just dropping the ambitions. There's a different pain from that, and then you can kind of drink that away or
Regret.
self-medicate or like, whatever, right? So but being able to take that creative pain of not being where you want to be or not being the person you want to be yet, and use the drive from it, but not use it to destroy yourself. I think that's a key thing. Is that something that you've experienced, that you've worked on?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, the last thing I want, like, you just don't want to, you don't want to like look at the end of your life and regret. You know, have, Jeff Bezos calls it like his like regret minimalization thing,
Hmm.
right? Like he wants to minimize the amount of regrets he has in his life, and I feel that too. And I just happen to have, I've had people really close to me in my family die relatively young, and I
Hmm.
don't think that they got to live and do the things that they wanted. They really felt like they wanted to do it. They felt like they lived to their full capacity when they were alive, and then they got sick, and then
Hmm.
they weren't able to do it, and then eventually died. I think that
Right.
like I'm healthy, I have energy, I'm exciting, and I'm excited. Hopefully, I'm exciting to people, but I'm
Yeah.
excited. So for me, I want to take that and not let it go to waste. Like I want to like actually put it towards like what gets me excited, what gets me jazzed, and hopefully helps out a lot of people along the way that are
Hmm.
close to me or outside of me, like either way. So my life philosophy is I think I'm a big proponent of like the golden rule. So like every time I think about like decisions or things that I need to get done, like I always think about like treat others how you would want to be treated if the situation were reversed. And so I think a lot about that as I make decisions or do things throughout my life. But what pushes me and motivates
Hmm.
me is some of that, and I think it's some of it's watching people close to me die early and knowing that they didn't have the chance to like go after their dreams anymore, and I'm here and I still get to. Um,
Right.
Part of it.
And that's where it's become so important also that we don't postpone actually feeling good and enjoying our lives till some mythical day in the future, but that we enjoy it now, even though we're still driving somewhere.
That's also very true, and I'm probably I may be that's maybe something for me to work on personally. Is like I think that's what I love about. That's one thing I didn't add to my morning routine. Is right before I journal, I write three things I'm grateful for every morning. Right above the journal, and then the three I'm grateful. Then I journal, and so that helps. Like I think that helps me. Like here's what I have. I'm very grateful for these things I have. This is awesome. I'm journaling all the amazing things that I
Hmm.
had before. So at least I have that time in the morning for like that hour where like I am purely grounded and like present in the meditation, present these things, and then I go after like all right now let's go after the things we're going after. Um,
Hmm.
yeah. So that's part of it. Do you know Alex Hormozy at all? Do you see anything from this
Yeah.
guy, Alex Hormozy? He's like
Yeah.
blowing up all over social media. He talks about like the most successful people like have he talks about like their I don't remember exactly. I'm gonna butcher this, but he says like really successful people like they're like they they have extreme like if an inferiority complex. Plus, they also think that they're like better than other people, and they're like this weird combination. Like they think they're a piece of shit, but they also think they're good, and like there's like this like weird fucking combination of like really successful people. And I think about that like I made like my whole life I felt like I was never really good enough. But then like in order to like level up, you have to think that like you're capable of doing great things. It's like this crazy combination of the two. Um, so I don't know. There's tons of things that I
Yeah.
think made me, but I think some
I
of those
think, I
things.
mean, I think that's very true. I think when you have that whacked out self worth or whatever that is, like, self valuation thing, like you're gonna fluctuate between feeling too unworthy to being like, they're shit, right? I think that's pretty normal when it's not in a healthy balance state. And I think that's part of where we get our drive from, is that, like, I know for me it's been a lot of like, oh my god, everybody's like so much better than me at whatever it is. Like, I'm like, I hope nobody notices like how terrible I am, and then like working really really hard, just head down focusing on my stuff, and then I get up and I look around, I'm like, holy shit, where is every, like, wait, no, wait, oh, I thought you were much better than me, and now like I'm way ahead. Like, I would go to go to exams, I'd study for exams and feel like, oh shit, I'm gonna get an F, I'm gonna totally fail, and then I work hard so where I feel like, okay, I'm just gonna pass and I'm at least good here, and then I get like A plus, right? It's like, oh shoot, my my standards were off here. Um, I think that's normal. Um, I wanted to hear. I forget what I wanted to double click on. There's something you said that was like, "Hey, this is so interesting." Anyway, I forget what it was. I think it was pretty Hormozy. Hormozy's great though. He's super cool, and his wife too.
Yeah, he's a great dude. He's
Yeah.
great.
Oh, now I know. Now I know what it was. So when you're like driving hard and like when you're going at it, whether it's at the gym or at your business, like what is the emotional state? What's the feeling inside of you? And yeah.
The feeling inside of me when I'm like going all in on something,
Hmm.
um, I don't know. It's like it all depends. Like I mean, like at the gym, it's like and this is something I've done recently in the past year. So like I'd say like I've been going to the gym regularly, but not really seeing much results. I'm now seeing a lot more results because I done like I really changed one thing, maybe two, but like I just started keeping track of like how much I'm actually like lifting at the gym. So like I just put down
Hmm.
okay, here's the weight I did, here's how many reps I did today, and then like the next time I do that exercise, I'm like, all right, here's what I did last time. I'm going to do one more rep, right, than I did
Hmm.
last time with that weight. Or I'm going to go up a little bit more weight and do less rep, right? So I start like keeping track of each time what I've been doing at the gym, and I've been getting stronger and stronger, and noticeably stronger. At least I feel noticeably stronger as I've been doing that, just keeping track.
Hmm.
And I think it's like just like it's like that little bit of improve. I think it's just like improving every day. Like if you just improve a little bit each day, I think that's kind of the maybe the lesson there is like just improving is what I love. So it's like not even like I could be like really I could be not in the best state of mind, but just put one more rep in, right, than I did last
Hmm.
time and I got a little bit stronger. And I think
Right.
some like I'm not when I'm going after things or doing things, and especially if I'm doing in meetings, like then I don't feel like like I feel good, very good right now. But there's some times where like I'll feel like not in the peak state, and like I'll have to go into a really important meeting with the team and like make really important decisions. And like I don't know, it's tough. It's like it's not easy. And like I try to minimize the amount of decisions I have to make in a day, especially that are non like ideally like impact like the decisions I make here can impact hundreds of people's lives, right? That are people on our team, and then also like thousands of customers that we have. And so like those I have to make sure you can. They say you can only have a certain number of really good decisions, or your willpower kind of dies down. And I actually kind of believe in that a little bit. And so I try to minimize the amount of decisions I make, so like I can make good ones when they come through. So like
Hmm.
I don't know if it's like what my mindset is when I'm going all in. It's just like sometimes if I'm stuck and I'm like fuck, what am I doing? Like this, I'm tired. I can't go any further. Um, I think I really go back to that thought of like, but I'm here, and like I should be grateful that I'm
Hmm.
here. Like let's keep going. Like this is what you want. This is what you're going after, and like you have a little bit of an obsession of what you want to accomplish, and that obsession is
Hmm.
sometimes good and sometimes bad, depending on who you ask. Most people would probably say obsession over something is bad, but I look at it as a gift to be obsessed with what I'm doing and obsessed with what I get to do.
Hmm. Yeah. All right. That's cool, man. So really appreciate this conversation.
Yeah.
Super great to see you again, my friend. What what is what is the one thing that you would say to your 20-year-old self that if you met him today?
I was when I was 20, I was didn't have a lot of confidence in myself, and so I would just say, um, believe in yourself, and just know that like no one has it all figured out, and
Hmm.
understand that like you may be trying new things or doing new things. It was the first time for anybody to try something new. Like I always think about like Martin Luther King had never created a movement before, like but he then eventually figured it out and did it, right? And that's how it is for everybody. And so, um, yeah, have confidence in yourself, believe in yourself, and it can go a long way.
And how would you get him to believe in himself? Was that by saying the thing you said about Martin Luther King, or is there something I think what would he really need to hear in order to really believe in himself?
Um, I think minimize the negative self-talk. Understand it doesn't serve
Hmm.
you. Saying
Hmm.
things over and over again that are not serving you. Like, think about the beliefs you have about yourself and
Hmm.
ask yourself, are those beliefs serving you or hurting you? And
Hmm.
if they're hurting you, then try to your best to change that belief to one that is serving you. Saying I'm bad at remembering names, as an example, is a belief. You could also say, like, I'm good at remembering names, and here's why, because I'm going to repeat somebody's name over and over again, those types of things. I just
Hmm.
think that it's that belief. Change your beliefs, make sure they're serving you in the right way, and um, and avoid the negative criticism, self-talk that you have in your head.
And the way that you avoid the negative self-talk is to
Replace it.
overpower it with positive. Yeah.
Either replace it. So again, this is where people have different opinions, right? And this is a big.
Hmm.
What I'm about to say is a big Napoleon Hill thing, right? Where it's like, and I've heard many different ideas and philosophies on this, but yeah, like the way I would do it is like your mind can only focus on one thing at a time. Like focus on something you can control, something that empowers
Hmm.
you. Like focus on the solution rather than just keep thinking about the problem. Because the more you focus on the problem gets bigger. The more you focus on the solution gets bigger. Focus on the solution. Focus on things you do want versus the things you don't want, and that should give you more belief in what you're able to accomplish.
Hmm. All right. I love it. Good closing thoughts. Thank you so much, Joe. Pleasure as always. Really
Thank you.
appreciate you doing this. Yeah,
Of
man.
course.
Um, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in a few hours.
Yes.
And just housekeeping wise, when you end this, like it's there's like keep the page open until the upload is done because that's why we get like that's why we use Riverside. It's because we it records the high def video on your end and then uploads that, so we get
Okay.
that better quality.
So
So
I'm going to press leave, and then it's going to just take me to a page to upload.
yeah, it should give you like an upload status. It's already uploading, but it'll finish it. Mine says uploading 99%, so it's almost done. But like I don't know if yours shows
It says 99%
that.
too. Yeah.
All right, there you go. So it should just take a few seconds. All right,
Nice.
man.
Good stuff, man. Thank
Super
you for
good.
having me. Appreciate it. And
Oh man, yeah, my
I'm excited
pleasure.
for tonight. Nikki's pumped. So
All right,
we'll see you
cool.
guys soon.
So am I. All right, much love. See ya.
Later, brother. Bye.
Bye.